Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this another episode of Your Market Navigator initiative. My name is Bhavdeep Bhatt, and I co-head retail sales at Aditya Birla Sun Life Asset Management Company. For those of you who have joined this Wednesday initiative of ours, which has been going on for the last 4 weeks now, this is one initiative where we are happy to present our experts, internal experts, and potentially also some of the external experts to you with some fresh perspectives on the sectors, on funds, on the way forward, etc. The objective behind this initiative is to share with you the journey so far in that fund or the sector analysis, and more importantly, if we can give some inputs or some perspective which can help you really navigate through this market situation. That would be wonderful, and that is the whole objective behind this initiative. Today we have our sector specialist for TMT, which is technology, media, and telecom sectors, and also the fund manager for Aditya Birla Sun Life Digital Fund, Kunal Sangoy. So Kunal has not only done well in terms of consistency of the fund performance over time, but has had an exceptional year last 1 year, and we'll talk more about his performance and portfolio over the next 50-55 minutes or so. But to start with, we'll request Kunal to take us through the presentation. He has put together a few slides to share with you today. And meanwhile, if you have any questions or queries with respect to any of the three sectors that I mentioned, which is IT, telecom, or media, or even about the digital fund, please post your questions in Q&A section, and we'll be happy to cover maximum number of questions over the next 50-55 minutes or so. So welcome, Kunal, and over to you.
Thanks, Bhavdeep. Good evening, everyone, and hope everyone is safe and wish good health to all and all your families. So what I'll do is that first about 15 to 20 minutes, I'll try and run some slides where basically we'll give you a good idea about the overall trends. So it's an interesting interesting time for particularly the sectors that I cover: technology, media, telecom. What is happening is that overall digital activity has been picking up massively. So just to begin with, I'll start with a quote from Satya Nadella, so who's the CEO of Microsoft, right? What he says is that the kind of activity post COVID, what has happened is we saw 2 years of digital transformation that is in the last 2 months, which would have taken place over the next 2 years. That is the kind of transformation. So there's a lot of activity in terms of when you look at the overall online and the transformation. So technology spending is just going through the roof, and there is a new normal. I think this pandemic is going to drive significant changes across business segments. So a quote coming from one of the big tech CEOs. It's a very, very powerful statement. Second is a quote from Sundar Pichai. He says India will be a global player in the digital economy. Now, every one of us today knows that Indian IT sector, that has been the sector which is IT sector has given India the recognition on the global map, right? You have very high quality Indian engineers, and it's not just the Indian IT services over here in India, but it's globally. And as you note, both these gentlemen, they are Indians, and they are heading one of the two big tech companies. They're the heads of those. So that is a kind of transformation and the impact at this point in time from a pandemic perspective we are seeing. So what I'll do is, some of the trends, why do they say this? So I'll just go through some slides which will tell us the kind of trends that are happening. Now, really what is happening, if you look at the overall activity post the lockdown, in mid-March or end of March, what is happening is that across the board, the online activity has just increased massively. Now, this is one of the surveys by Hotsuite, where basically, they have surveyed various individuals and came out with data that what are people doing. So, 57% of the respondents are spending a lot more time in terms of more shows, streaming more online content. So that's one activity. From a second activity is social media. Extremely, lot more time is being spent on the social media. Similarly, on the messenger services, there is more streaming of online music. There is more time which is being spent on various kind of mobile apps. If you look at creating and uploading videos, that is also a lot more, right? We've seen TikTok as one of the key attractions among the very high user base in India and globally. There is now gaming is one of the another side where basically 35% more time is being spent across by the various users. There is more podcasts. So online activity as such has gone up, and what happens is because of that is that dramatic every enterprise has to rearrange to manage this kind of a online activity, and we see what else is happening. uh, this call we're doing on Zoom, right? So if you look at pre-COVID, there were like three players who were in the video market. So if you see the pie chart on the left, which is Microsoft Teams, Zoom, and Cisco WebEx, those were the three players more or less like equal share, and then 18% was the rest of it. Now how things changed post the lockdown, and how Zoom took off. Now on the right hand side is that the market share, how Zoom has is increased the kind of market share 60%. Why? Obviously because of the kind of ease or convenience of usage, etc. And then because it was scalable, very cloud oriented service, highly scalable. Now Microsoft Teams, that is another from Microsoft, where basically Microsoft is spending a lot of effort and time, and then they have also increased the share. So this is the kind of very clearly how the video market changed. Then the third is that if you look at the e-commerce in the US, what happened? What e-commerce in the US, what has happened is that, look at this. This is a beautiful chart on the left side by McKinsey. Uh, this is the US e-commerce as a percentage of overall retail sales, which used to be like 16 to 17% of overall retail sales. That just shot through the roof, and that is like now 34%. Now this is, and if you look at last from 5% to 15%, so 10% of increase, it took almost 1 decade, and the kind of increase that we've seen. Now what happens in this is that overall for the technology spending itself, so retail sales have moved online, they've shot through the roof. What it implies is that not only just e-commerce, but basically every other retail company, they will have to be present online, in order to, in order for their sales to move forward, in order to start post the lockdown. So that is driving a lot of investments in the omni-channel, which is, multiple channel, not just the retail storefronts. And this is, so this is a big trend. As we move forward, I'll talk about, India also and China also. You look at what happened on the video overall, we saw that overall streaming as a service, everyone is streaming. Netflix in Q1, so if you look at Q1 recently, they added 16 million subscribers in 1 quarter. They were going at a run rate of 6 to 7 million subscribers. So this is the March quarter number, 16 million. After that, in June quarter, they've added again more than 10 million. So first half of this year itself, Netflix has added almost like 27 million subscribers, which is the number that full of 2019 they added. So the kind of surge that we are seeing is tremendous, right? If you look at the next slide, now we saw that the lockdown, what it has happened is, what the lockdown has done too is that it has forced and broken the conception that working from home can be done. Suddenly we've seen various companies have had to adjust in terms of, when you look at IT as well as other services industries also, that work from home is suddenly becoming a new normal. And as we say, TCS, the leader in the sector, they have in the Indian IT sector, they've said that by 2025, 75% of their workforce will be like work from home. That's a huge statement. So what the whole new delivery models are emerging. They have conceptualized this as a secured borderless workspace, and that is one of the new normals, which companies who were reluctant are now suddenly realizing that actually all your services can be uninterrupted, provided from home. Now that brings up a whole new opportunity for the collaboration tools. Now Zoom or Microsoft Teams or Blue Jeans. These are all collaboration tools that enterprises have to spend on. In terms of the content management, so what happens is that the whole host of physical to online, the whole world is moving from physical to online, and in that sense, the whole content management, document management. So in document management, so if you look at say Adobe is a company which has the two key products, which is one is the PDF, Adobe Acrobat, that which every one of us has been using. Second is the Photoshop. So Adobe Acrobat, basically, again, there is a huge surge in terms of demand, so that they have a digital signature inside. You want to do, approvals, approve the various compliance angle, various approvals, various documentation, the whole workflow automation also. So whole workflow automation that is getting digitized, and that overall can be $100 billion kind of opportunity. Just the collaboration tools like Microsoft Teams, Cisco WebEx, various tools, that can be a potentially $30 billion market opportunity. A lot of data is getting generated, and whenever there is data, there is more analytics. Wherever there is more online activity, again there is a lot more cyber security, which is a requirement. So these are the various areas, as in network cyber security, workflow automation, and collaboration, three key areas where there will be a lot of investments by various enterprises. So there is a huge demand there. So coming to this, so overall, what does it mean? Is that what we are seeing also in India, and is the first 2 points. There is a rise of consumer internet businesses in India. There are various new kind of business models which are evolving. Some of them were already in place, trends were happening, but because of the pandemic, there is a big push, there is an acceleration. So every crisis is an opportunity and also a trigger. So if you if you have to recall, for the IT services market, Y2K in 2000 was a big crisis that way, and that was a big opportunity for Indian IT companies. So Infosys, TCS, Wipro, all these guys, they scaled up on that opportunity. After that, again 2008, the global financial crisis, there was again significant crisis in the financial services space. And post that, what we saw is that big acceleration in terms of the demand for all these services guys. So similarly, this crisis is bringing the whole host of consumer internet in India a lot more bigger, making it a lot more bigger. Second is that why that is happening is that the ecosystem is in place. Now, what do we mean by ecosystem? Three key ingredients in the internet ecosystem is the access. Now, what is access? Access is in terms of, one is the services, the connectivity services. So say, for example, the broadband connection, or wired broadband or wireless. So, Jio, with after 2017 when they launched, significant cost reduction in terms of the 4G services. So the excess cost of the data cost itself dropped substantially. Second, excess is in terms of the devices. So a 4G enabled handset, smartphone, is available for 7,000 to 8,000 rupees, a good quality 4G. So that dropping cost is that the excess availability came in. Second is the platforms. Now platforms are various online platforms like Amazon or Flipkart, which enables the buyers and sellers to come on the platform and transact on that platform. So when you have that platform, you can transact. So as a user, so Zomato is a platform, or you say Uber is a platform. Basically, it enables the various service providers coming through, and also the people who want to avail of the services, they come. So that is available. So that is a second, because these are all three are interlinked: access, platform, and the third is the most important, is the payments. So in payments also, now we have digital wallets available. There are UPI based various payment systems available, and then there are payment gateways, and then so all these are taking off. This ecosystem for the whole consumer internet to rise is in place, and which is why I think over the next few years we're going to see massive acceleration in terms of the overall internet businesses, and companies will have to adopt, spend money on the technology, be themselves more available for their products and services on the internet itself. So those are the two, and we'll as we move forward, I'll talk more about it. What is the third key big trend is happening is that there is a big acceleration in terms of the cloud adoption. In the IT market, what happens is that, everybody, every enterprise. So this was a trend which was ongoing. The digital services, digital adoption was already there. Over the last 2 years, it was already happening. A lot of companies were having their private cloud or a hybrid cloud model they were following. But now what happens with the cloud, sudden with the pandemic, suddenly work from home, if you have to do work from home, you have to ensure that various applications are available from different places, distributed workspaces. And for that to be there, the VPN based or server based, own in-house server based, becomes a lot more difficult. So enterprises have to adopt to cloud. They have to migrate their various applications to the cloud services, and that will give them more flexibility to roll out, add features, scale various applications. So what as a trend we're going to see is a big adoption in cloud. And it will be infrastructure as a, because what happens is that right now you can operate, and there is a big pressure in terms of various companies also to reduce the cost. So cloud services, where once so it converts your capex into opex, and that becomes a big growth. Indian IT becomes a big play in this in terms of the migration of various in-house applications to cloud. So that becomes a big opportunity as a cloud. The fourth is with regards to the overall digital adoption. As we saw, the earlier slides, that digital adoption, technology is now digital is now default, and every company across various verticals, be it retail vertical, or you are in a telecom vertical, or you're in a media vertical, you have to be more tech savvy. You have to be present. You have to have those scalable applications, and that is where the digital adoption means more digital spending, more technology spending, and more technology spending means overall trend is positive for overall IT space. The fifth is with regards to the overall digital entertainment in terms of the content consumption that is going to come through. So as we saw, Netflix, but again, apart from Netflix, we have Indian guys like Hotstar, Airtel Extreme, Geo Cinema, various other applications which are also seeing Alt Z5. Those are seeing strong takeoff. Now, this slide is just about the first 2 points, which is the rise of the consumer internet in India and the ecosystem. Now, what actually happened in India, if you look at India as a market, we are like 600 million plus internet users, and that is second largest in the world. China has 1.3 billion internet users. After that, India is the second largest, and that is a very big market. And why that has happened? So if you look at the bottom chart, which is the overall smartphone shipments. So these are all the 4G enabled phones essentially. All the smartphones, if you see over the last 5 years, from say 2015 to 2000, on an average, there has been like every year we've added almost like 100 million smartphones are there, and which 100 million, those are converted into the overall internet economy. So what it means is that as more and more users come online over a period of time, so initially they'll spend time on video streaming. Second is that with regards to on the social media, Facebook, WhatsApp. But over a period of time, as there is more maturity within the internet users, they start to transact, and that is the something which generates the overall commerce activity, and hence there is a lot of disruptions in various businesses. So out of these, what do you have to if I were to talk about how many out of this? So right now, if you look at the overall shopper penetration, out of these 660 million users, only 30% is 30% of the users transact at least once a year. And hence, I think what is going to happen over the next few years is that this transacting users out of the overall internet users, they are going to drive a significant high commercial activity. So this is a slide which just tells us about how India is placed vis-a-vis China. If we look at the e-commerce, So e-commerce in India, so online sales as a percentage of retail sales, that's just like 3% when you compare with China and US. So US, we saw that, so this is a 22% number over here, but recently it has gone up to, this is a full calendar year number last year. So recently it's gone up to almost like 33%. If you look at the shopper penetration, I spoke about 30% penetration. But when you look at China and US, they are like 70% plus shopper penetration, which means that out of this 662 million users right now, there, India has like only 32%, which is shopping. But over a period of time, as that increases, that would mean that more internet economy, the overall activity on the internet itself growing tremendously. The other is the internet penetration in India, which is 42% versus say 62 and 90% for China and US. And the other is the smartphone penetration that we spoke about. So I think India, when we look at the overall internet as a market, I think it is at a very inflection point. And this pandemic is only going to drive and be a big push towards growing these markets. Now, we're just going to see, in terms of what is this doing, the uh, overall this internet economy, what is it happening and how is it disrupting? So we are already seeing the digital disruption that's happening in various segments. So if you look at in terms of e-commerce, there is the number of shoppers are increasing. So as we see, be it so right now in India, e-commerce market is just like $33 billion, essentially controlled by Flipkart and Amazon. Both are more or less equal, 14 to $15 billion, and the rest is, so that is going to drastically increase. And as we know, Jio also, Reliance Jio, they have through Jio Mart, they are also entering in the grocery market, where basically we're going to see this segment getting disrupted through the Kirana model. They are going to enter, and this is going to take off in a big way as we see that push. The other segment that is already seeing disruption is in terms of the fintech space, the overall payments and wallets, which I spoke about. So there are various payment gateways like say BillDesk, wallets in terms of various companies, if be it Reliance Jio or Airtel Payments Wallet or Paytm Wallet, which is the most popular. And then within the fintech space, we are seeing disruptions in the lending space, investing space, so and the insurance space. So insurance space, we've seen the traction that is say Policy Bazaar, which helps in terms of online insurance policies. They are seeing a massive takeoff in terms of the queries and in terms of the overall insurance facilitation. The other segment is the food tech segment, right? The overall home delivery of food. That online delivery, I think that has become a big market. That is already seen consolidation. So Swiggy and Zomato, they are like big players in this market. They've consolidated. So Zomato has recently acquired Uber Eats. Both of them have like 43% share. Currently, this food tech online food ordering market is about 3.5 to $4 billion in terms of the overall value of the food delivered online. Uh, that and roughly unique users are like 120 million users, and it generates employment also, right? Almost 280,000 riders they have, Swiggy and Zomato. So I think that is where we're seeing that disruption happening. The other is the ride hailing, where Uber and Ola, we've seen the kind of scale up that has happened. Obviously, pre-pandemic there was a change. Post-pandemic, again there will be change in terms of the owning your own vehicle. Otherwise, there was a trend that why should you own a four-wheeler when you have Uber and Ola at your service immediately. The other segment is the digital entertainment segment, where we are already seeing music which has got disrupted, videos, overall video consumption, so YouTube and then other online streaming services, they are seeing massive adoption. So that is getting disrupted. And the most important is also on the advertising side. So if you look at advertising, the media segment has got disrupted. So print media, which was earlier growing since last 2 years, they're already seeing a lot of ad dollars being shifted from print media towards digital media. So more online advertisement is going to pick up. TV still remains the most best medium to reach a wider set of audience, but I think that is also as we see going forward, we will see more digital advertising gaining pace. So Google is a leader in this in terms of search advertising. Facebook is another social media where basically they gain a lot of benefit because of this. The other two segments are gaming. Gaming is going to emerge as a, globally, gaming is a very big market. Now India is among the top 5 markets actually in terms of the users. So India has like 41 crore users, which are, playing game. And believe me, just the most played game is actually Ludo King. Quite surprising, but yes, it is Ludo King. And yeah, so then there are, so in if you look at the Eastern markets, gaming is a lot more real money gaming and console gaming driven. But here we will see a lot more emergence of the casual gaming market itself. The other is the education tech market. Now, as office work from office, it's also study from home. As it is work from home, it's study from home, and that has become a big segment. So we are seeing students lining up for on Google Meets or a Geo Meet or a Zoom and a Microsoft Teams. Almost 150 million students right now are already studying studying from home. That segment is seeing a lot of disruption. So this way, we will continue to see more and more different business models emerge into various these. So this disruption happening across these segments is going to lead some of the incumbent players in these market to spend a lot more, become a lot more effective, and change the whole digital foundation space. This is data with regards to how we've seen over the last 3 years increase in the unique visitors. And if you look at, so the rightmost is the Netflix, Hotstar, YouTube. From 1 million users over the last 3 years, they're like almost 40 million users. Netflix is interesting where basically, in India, last year, beginning of this year, they had a target of actually adding just about 1 million users. In fact, what happened is that because of the pandemic, they ended up adding 16 million users in India itself. So, moving from, so they had a user base where basically the paid user base increasing to 16 million. So they introduced this 199 mobile plan, and that saw rapid adoption. The number that you see 40 million is that because there are a lot of shared users in Netflix. People share the same ID and use. So this number, this number is basically the unique visitors across Hotstar, YouTube. We've seen the kind of online adoption. If you look at this Flipkart and Amazon, they're also massive adoption that we've seen. So the growth overall, the digital, so which is why, given the kind of increase in the unique visitors, we are going to see a lot of consumer internet businesses coming through in a big way, gaining traction. And that is a challenge for a lot of retailers and other businesses who are offline. You can't be offline in this. So that is as far as my broader trends were concerned. Probably I'll stop here, and I'll hand over to again Bhavdeep, and we can start the Q&A.
Yeah, thanks, Kunal. Quite interesting stuff you shared. And I think in terms of sector trends, 3-4 things that really were key takeaways for me was just one thing that you talked about, for example, was the entire this internet economy stuff. I mean, something which all of us have been really experiencing day in and day out. Another thing that you talked about was sort of convergence of the media, the entertainment or rather, and the telecom part, because the data consumption has gone up, and the IT. So I think the convergence of all these three essentially TMT sectors in some way, which all of us have been experiencing both as at personal as well as professional level. And another couple of other things that you talked about was work from home and how it's really changing, the way the way we are consuming products and the way business is being conducted. And lastly, I think you talked about this entire digital disruption piece, and I'll come back to you a couple of questions I have on that side. But how the entire digital space, whether it's the fintech space or the food technology or the ride-hailing companies or even the education technology companies. So how all these businesses are really completely disrupting the old way of living and old way of doing business. So quite an interesting perspective on or a set of perspectives on the sector. But let me just come to the the fund or the portfolio conversation here, and let me bring the ABSL digital fund portfolio and performance aspects here. So one thing that we all know is that in the last couple of years have been really challenging for fund managers to generate alpha. And alpha, which was mutual fund, was an alpha factory in India over the last many years. And last 2 years there was sort of a drought in that across most of the funds. And in that space, you have been able to generate about 10% kind of alpha in last 1 year alone in digital fund compared to its benchmark, which is the tech total return index of. How do you really manage this part? And if you can just walk us through your broad philosophy and some of the success stories, because I saw some of the questions which we have been getting from our audience here. Is how come you are so low on TCS? I mean, low in terms of your exposure in TCS. So one of the success stories that I figured out during our interaction is that you went overweight in fee, and you were holding TCS a lower proportion, and I think in fee was like 30% up in last 1 year versus TCS delivering about 5%. So what are the factors? If you can just take a couple of companies examples, success stories examples, and what really led you to buy into these companies? Was it the change in management? Was it the relative valuation? Was it just the entire digital transformation that Infy is undergoing, etc.? And by the way, before Kunal answers to all viewers, all the companies conversations that we do here are not for any recommendation purpose. We might change our view. I mean, we might not be able to even come back to you that views have got changed, etc. So take all the conversations around companies as purely as examples to really explain where we are coming from, our investment philosophy, or our portfolio construction process, etc., and not as stock recommendation or company recommendation, etc. So please keep this in mind while taking our inputs back home and process it for your investment portfolios. So Kunal, over to you in terms of fund philosophy and some of the success stories that have worked well for you and which have really helped you generate such a significant alpha over the last 1 year.
Sure. Thanks, Gaudi. So, just to take you through the kind of fund philosophy in terms of stock selection. And so broadly, when we look at Digital India Fund, so one is that it's not just a IT fund. Okay. So what we do in this fund is IT plus telecom, plus the internet companies, plus the media companies, and also some of the outsourcing of the manpower businesses which are there, which have got listed over the last 2 years. So that is the broad sectoral framework within which we look for various opportunities. Now within that, when we look at technology as a sector, so I think one of the key things that we need to understand is that IT sector, see, in the past, many times this sector has been written off, saying that a golden period of the IT sector is over, and how growth will come through. These companies are too large. But I think what we need to just remember is that there is always a technology phase where basically there is a consolidation period of 3 to 4 years, and then again there is a technology capex cycle. And when that capex cycle happens, is that IT companies tend to do very well, Indian IT services. So there is when we look at the overall tech value chain, so there are pure software companies, there are pure hardware companies, which are infrastructure companies. Then there are these services companies, and services companies, for every dollar spent on hardware as well as on the software, the services tends to, 1:3 is the kind of broader ratio which tends to work. So services as a market. So Indian IT exports is like $150 billion in size, and that is just about 12% of the overall IT spend globally. So one is that we are just 12% of the overall market. So there is a huge headroom for growth. Within that, when you look at, top 5 IT companies are like $75 billion, $75 billion, almost like 5,60,000 crores of revenues, 91,000 crores of profit, and more or less, 80,000 plus kind of a free cash. So these companies are extremely high, cash generating companies, and growth for them continues to be strong. So I think, this as a sector, I think, and, the kind of digital push that happens, again, it's a huge opportunity for the company. So I think from that perspective, IT as a sector, no matter what, I think, we've seen through multiple years, 3 year, 5 years, 7 years, the sector continues to deliver very strong returns. Now, when we look at, various companies within that, so Infosys versus TCS is always a, very difficult comparison, because both are world-class companies in a, TCS 8 lakh crore market cap, Infosys 4 lakh crore kind of market cap. So here, I think the key thing that we saw is that through the 2012 to 2015-16 period also, there were a lot of management exits that were happening in fee. Then there was new CEO, Mr. Sikka came. There were, challenges, NRN, Mr. Murthy also was there. There were a lot of noise factor. But one thing that we always, followed and saw is that despite various, exits at senior management level, and despite the management bandwidth going on that, on the overall corporate governance, or the kind of exits, what happened? There was no single client execution got impacted. Okay, and in terms of the new businesses, new business wins, deal wins, I think company was doing well. So post, when the current CEO, Mr. Salil Parekh, he joined in 2018, 2017, and in FY18, what we saw is that there, he got stability. And from a messaging perspective, when we meet them, when we interact in terms of strategy, I think one thing was clear, that he is very much focused on execution, and he just wants meeting client, getting new deals, look at the areas where there were gaps in terms of winning. And that is where basically we saw that there is an opportunity. And second is that when we compared TCS versus Infosys, so one was management stability coming through. TCS always was world class in terms of execution. They continue to be that innovative. But in terms of the valuation gaps that were there, so TCS used to trade at 22 times 1 year forward earnings, 23 times, and Infosys was trading at 16 to 17 times. So over the last 1.5 years, there was a big call that we took, was that at some point in time, once the performance, and we also look at various vertical exposure, client exposure, and the trends within that, and also the kind of, so for say Infosys, Apple is one of the most, is the top client and the kind of business. So when we look at the client exposure and how the client's business is doing, and we were looking at, so Apple as a company is doing extremely well, and other clients also, but we see that we track the end clients and not just Infosys, we track their clients, we look at that. Once we saw that, he took a call, we had a thesis that the valuation discount versus Infosys versus TCS has to narrow. It used to trade at almost like a 30% discount when you look at the valuation discount. And that is the call that, and what we are seeing now is finally getting reflected. So the performance was already coming through last 6 quarters. If you see, Infosys performance was improving, but probably it was not getting rewarded in terms of the valuation multiple. And that is where basically we took a big call with regards to buying Infosys. So when it fell to 550 and 600, and in the pandemic period also, we did add to the exposure during that level, and even at 600 or 650 through various levels. So we track the progress. So we take a investment call, but at the same time we keep on tracking at various intervals. And if that solidifies our investment thesis, we add to our position, and that is how we got it a big benefit out of that.
Okay. So wonderful. I think it's a big success story, undoubtedly. The overweight in fee, relatively underweight TCS, and the reasons that you talked about kind of quite well fits into our business management valuation framework, the BMV framework that we often talk about. So interesting. So another story that comes to my mind is the Bharti Airtel. So in fact, there is just one business that we are having exposure to across our multiple funds or multiple portfolios, and to that extent, our fund house has really benefited from our early exposure to this particular company. But specifically talking about you, I think a couple of things which really stand out about your taking exposure into Bharti Airtel was, one is you kind of waited for some time, and you just pretty much like a batsman who really waits for the ball and kind of hits it at the right time. I think you got it right in terms of buying it in a good spot. and also the kind of conviction with which you have backed it up in terms of the quantity of amount of exposure that you have had to this particular company. So what really led you to pick these up and really back this with your such a high level of exposure to this company? So just and what we are really wanting to figure out here, and me as well as all our viewers, I'm sure, is what goes into the decision making of this, because that's what is repeatable, that's what is replicable, right? And that's what hopefully you will continue doing over time, and that will benefit the funds. We are really looking for those cues of how do you really take the decision for picking up such beautiful opportunities. Over to you.
Sure. Okay. So Bharti is certainly, Bharti Airtel has been, one of the key success stories because so telecom as a market, we know that because of the high, in terms of the return ratios, because of the high spectrum cost, usually we've seen that, it was always a highly competitive market and tariffs were extremely low. And, we had like 13 telecom operators before, say, 2017. And then came the juggernaut, Jio, right, who launched and then just devastated the kind of pricing impact. So I remember, pricing a 1 GB of 1 GB of a 3G data in 2017, it costed about 196 rupees. 196 rupees for 1 GB of 3G data. And then from there, basically what we saw is that the pricing going down to almost like 5 rupees per 4G data, per 1 GB of 4G data. And that is the kind of pricing impact that we've seen. Now, what we track here is that in terms of, so obviously, first is the disruption happened from 13 players. It went down to, 4 players, 3 private players, and fourth public, the government side, the player, and, the merger of, 2 of the larger third and fourth player as well. So what we've seen is that, so that consolidation happened. So one is that top down, the view on the industry was negative since a while. After seeing this kind of consolidation, and in India, there are like 950 million telecom unique users, right? As in overall telecom users, 950. So it's a huge market, and the kind of ARPU destruction that we've seen, the kind of EBITDA impact. So companies, what happens is that during tough times, companies who focus on execution and who continuously invest for the future are something that we always look out for. And here was a company where even through through 2018 and 2019, Bharti invested significant amount of, so over the last 3 years, they have invested 60,000 crores as capex into the to maintain the quality of the network. Second is that in Bharti, when you look at, it's not just, they're offering wireless mobile services. Bharti so it has a lot more wider offerings. So I would say that, they are already having a quad play. So one is that, so they not just wireless broadband, which is the mobile phone services, they offer broadband services, which is your, Airtel FTTH services, home broadband services. The third is the DTH services. And then what they also started over the last year is the content aggregation in terms of the media overall. So they were already at a quad play. And in India, when we're looking at, convergence, you talked about convergence, right? So Bharti is one company which is already starting to play that convergence theme in terms of, so technology is Airtel Xstream. If you look at their Airtel Xstream platform, so they are like, 150 million users of their digital assets. Now companies may call whatever in terms of themselves as digital companies. Some of the other peers call themselves as digital companies, but here is a company which is not just a telecom operator, but they also have, digital assets. Now Airtel Xstream, we haven't, not many people know that Wynk Music is one of the top 3 music apps, music streaming apps, which is owned by Airtel. They are like almost like a 50 to 60 million active users. So Wynk Music, Airtel Payments. So if you look at the payments bank, peer-to-peer transfer, Airtel Payment. So one was what we saw is that there is a asset creation over a period of time within the company, which they don't talk about. Second is that when we took a broader call about that, what is the kind of tariff rationalization. So I think what we waited, so we were seeing that, overall revenues and profitability was going down drastically. But then at some point in time, it stabilized. And then, there was one Reliance Jio, they took first tariff increase in October 2018, and which they reversed a little bit, but then they stopped, right? So prices were going down, but then they stabilized, and that is the time we also saw the balance sheets. So it's not just Airtel that we evaluate; we also evaluate the balance sheet of the competitors, and Reliance Jio, the kind of capex, etc. So we took a call that from here the pricing is unlikely to go down. That is one. And second, obviously, we didn't know in terms of the tariff increase when it is likely to come. But early last year, we took a call that at some point in time, over the next 2 to 3 quarters, tariffs will increase from here. And I think that is the primary, because what happens is that when a telecom tariff goes down, so your revenues go down, but your more or less costs, operating costs are fixed. So
Mm-hmm.
80% of the revenue decline almost impacts the EBITDA, the operating profits. And we took a call that once the tariff increases, the same reverse will happen, that the same 80% of the revenues will essentially flow to the EBITDA. And I think that is where we're getting a company which had like 300 million plus users, active users, good amount of digital assets. So we took that call, and with that I think we were fortunate to get it at a right time, and close to 330 was first, where we got in first block, where we got in as a fund house, and from there we just build it up. And the kind of AGR liability, etc., those were concerns were there, but obviously whatever we thought that various headwinds, but Bharti will emerge as a leader, because execution focus was very essential. And I think they never lost much subscribers. What they continue to gain is that the 4G subscribers, which are high ARPU customers, they kept on adding those. So that focus. And when we talk to various retailers or distributors who do the recharge, monthly recharges, etc., I think that is also kind of dealer interactions that we have. And we saw that people are picking up, and that is where basically a lot of lead indicators came through, and which is why we took that call, participated in their QIP also, which was there at 440. And our view continues to remain fairly positive on Bharti Airtel. That way.
Wonderful. So I think again, this is a beautiful example of how do we really do our portfolio construction? How do we do stock picking? I thought it's always useful to talk about our portfolio construction process and the research framework in the context of a company that we have really bought into, because that makes it really come alive. I think what you talked about, even for Bharti, the way you kind of went about identifying that company and really taking the exposure, again talks about the BMV, business management and valuation. How do you really see that the revenue per user has been growing? There is a secular potential for business to grow. There was a critical mass in terms of number of users, 30 crore odd. You also look at the management. I think in both the examples you use the word execution capability and that orientation of the company to really invest in future. So these are the two things I picked up in both the example that you talked, whether it was in Infy or Bharti. So that's how you are really analyzing the management of the company. And ultimately, again, you mentioned that valuation point of view, really thought that it can't get worse. And again, looking at the relative valuation compared to competition, and that's how you really bought out. So that's wonderful example of how do you really go about building your portfolio. Lastly, we'll talk about the portfolio and then move to a couple of few interesting questions that we have got in our Q&A section. One is on the, in India, I mean, it is typically said that Indian IT sector has been very competitive. It never allowed China to come into this segment. There are very few sectors in which China couldn't or did not come in India. One of them is IT, engineering, and pharma, a couple of them. But particularly in IT, there is one thing that people always talk about is that India is kind of very strong in IT services, but not in IT products. And here is Kunal, who is identifying one very interesting small cap company, which is in IT product space, Majesco. Why don't you just run us through how did you go about buying into that small cap, which really almost is if I'm not mistaken, is a doubler for us. So how do you really go about that?
Right. Yeah. So, I think you've also done your research very well. So Majesco, yeah. So Majesco has been a recent success in a way that there basically a transaction has been announced. So Majesco is a cloud product company. They essentially give they have a product in the insurance space, where basically they do the billings, policy administration on the life and the property casualty side and the life and annuity side. So there basically what we have seen is that this is a small cap company. When we look at, so we did our research on the company itself, and then secondly, what we saw is that this was a company which was already focused on cloud rather than services, so product orientation, and they were trying to build. So they were giving up their license fee revenues, and they were building their as a service model. So as a service model is that when you do pay as per you as you use. Rather than one time license fee is what basically you drive a one time license fee or one time annual, but irrespective of the number of users, etc., you don't get that optionality or the incremental revenues if you don't be on a as per use model. So, and also it converts from a client perspective, it converts your capex one time high license fee into opex. So so this is a company which is already building their cloud based model, and they were gaining traction. They had a very niche offering. What in the IT space also, when we talk about mid cap or IT, I think mid cap or small cap, we need to differentiate between whether they have a niche capability or not, because many times we'll have me too IT companies, but what's the point, me too IT company which are also doing similar as to what large caps are doing. So if we have a niche market, niche company who has got a very unique capability and that is seeing a good adoption to the client, I think that is what we saw. And then we were getting it. So one is that from a business perspective, the addressable market in the US for the insurance business is extremely very high compared to, because this is just a 125 kind of $1 million in size. What we need to see is that what are the kind of comparable valuations or comparable companies, the competitors. So there are two competitors, key competitors like Guidewire and Duck Creek. They were trading at 4 to 5 times and 7 to 8 times the revenue multiple. This was a company which was, we were getting it at almost like 1.2 times EV to sales. And we were also, through the pandemic, when it fell substantially, I think we kept on adding during that time as well. And in a view that at some point in time, one is that market will see the value in the stock and it will get re-rated itself. Now meanwhile, what happened last month is that one of the private equity companies, Thomas Bravo, they came and announced that they want to buy the company at a almost like a 90% premium, and then they revised it up also. So stock yeah, so from there basically, so the stock India Majesco is trading at almost like 380 rupees, and the kind of pricing that they've announced is almost like 1,000 rupees. So I think we continue to hold, and so that is the kind of, so obviously we never expected that immediately this will happen, but at some point in time we think that market will unlock the value, and that is what exactly has happened, and which is why we've benefited. So we almost own almost like 4.2% of the company there.
Awesome. Great. So Kunal, we have lots of very interesting questions and we are kind of left with about 8-10 minutes now. So quite a rapid fire round, 1.5 minutes each. I promise I won't speak much. One question is from Mr. Sushil Maheshwari. Do you have plans to add few international stocks from NASDAQ in the portfolio?
Sure. I think, yeah, that is one point that, we haven't talked about. So we do own, and Sushilji, we do own international stocks. So right now, international stocks through the last 2 years, what we've done is that we own 8% of the portfolio, which is in international stocks. So there are like two big tech stocks that we own. One is Microsoft. Certainly, Microsoft, we've seen that pandemic is a big trigger for them. And second is Apple. And Apple, 2 years back, we bought when the whole US-China trade war situation started. And Apple as a strategy we're building. So, we bought Apple at like $170. We continue to hold that. The stock is currently trading at almost like $430, $440. So we continue to own. So 2 international stocks we own, and the third is Accenture, which is a smaller percentage. But what we intend to do is that we intend to add more international stocks and keep it in 12 to 14% kind of a range.
We can invest up to 25%, right?
Yes, we can invest.
As per offer document. Currently, we are at about 8%.
Currently, we are at about 8%. Yeah.
And you intend to take it to 14% or so?
12 to 14%. But it will be gradual. Yeah.
Fair. Okay, another question is from Mayank Goelji and Jinkal Gala. After the spectacular run in IT stocks, is there still merit to invest into this sector? And Mayank Goel is asking the same question. क्या मुझे IT technology fund में निवेश करना चाहिए from this level? So essentially, both of them are talking about whether it has run its course or there is some juice left.
So I think so valuations. If you look at returns and valuation, I think valuations have look expensive when you compare to IT's own historical average. But in the current context, given the kind of push to the whole digital thrust is there, I think there is significant demand uptick which is likely over the next 2 years, and one should the whole technology industry is after consolidation for several years, it is readying itself for a high growth phase. So I still believe that there is one should be invested in this, and even incrementally basis can add also position over here.
Okay, interesting. And and in fact, Mithun Ashwat, he has asked three different questions, and I think all three of them are interesting. So let me just put all of them together. So you don't have any internet plays in your portfolio. So that's question one. Another question he has asked is you don't hold Reliance as a telecom play and hold only Bharti. Why? And third question that he's asking is isn't your portfolio too concentrated because top two positions account for almost 40% of the portfolio? Though it's a sector fund and therefore it's a basic characteristic, but you just want to touch upon this aspect as well. So
Sure.
one, why not, you got all the three, right? Why not internet play? Why not Reliance? And third is why too concentrated?
Okay, so internet play. So currently, so if you look at last year, so currently we don't. So we own Just Dial as an internet play over here. We are positive on the overall internet space, but from an investable perspective. So last year we participated in as anchor investor in the IPOs of IndiaMart, which came at 970 rupees, and then we more than doubled our money and we booked gains there. We also participated in Affle India, which is another advertising tech platform. So we did participate, and even the third, where basically Info Edge also we used to own. We booked gains over there, given, but we constantly look for opportunities, and again at right pricing, we will add. So as an internet play right now we have Just Dial, but there as more companies come through in the space, we will add that. Yeah. So that's point number one. Second is that with regards to Reliance, so I think Reliance still, it gets classified a lot more as, petchem refining, while, unlocking of value on the overall geo and the retail is only happening now, and more value is being given over the last. But because of the constraints on the classification of the stock itself, we are unable to invest at this point in time. The third point was the concentration, the top two holdings. So I think we also follow it's also a function of the benchmark. In the benchmark, their concentration is very high. So like top two stocks are like Infosys and TCS. TCS is like almost 24% of the benchmark weight, but there we've taken a very active call. We own only 5%. We've used that money to invest in some of the other mid cap and small cap stocks where we are getting far more returns. That is there, and Infosys has been a high conviction play for us, and which is why we continue to own almost like 26 to 28% in the portfolio. So it's a very much one is that to an extent benchmark drives it, but it's also based on the conviction. So you can be rest assured that where we see upside, we'll invest there only. And by and large, it's not that it's idle. It's Infosys is given like 30% return. So owning, I'm sure one can say that why should you not own more? So, but we are cognizant of the risk also, and that is why we continue to balance it out. So currently we have like 20-25% invested in mid and small cap stocks, which are seeing actually a tremendous re-rating in terms of the valuations.
Wonderful. And the last question, Kunal, is from Mr. Praveen Nagrani. How is digital fund for a 3-year period? And I'm adding my point in terms of what percentage of portfolio would you recommend an investor, a retail investor, to hold in Digital India fund?
Sure. So from a 3-year perspective, I think if we were to, I'll just share one slide. I hope you all can see the slide. So if this is the fund performance versus a benchmark, which is the BSE Tech Index and also the BSE 500 broader index. So if you look at so I just want to drive one point, which is if you look at long term, be it 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, the kind of returns that we've always seen in the technology. So I again drive the same point that digital theme is here to stay. And Indian IT services companies, services is a business which is a recurring business. You continue to gain, and IT companies are super cash flow businesses. And incrementally they have learned, they are giving a high payout also. All the free cash they generate, almost like 80% of the cash is being paid out. So from a long term perspective also, I continue to like the space. Very high return ratios and super cash flow businesses.
In percentage point of view, what would you suggest? Because it's a sector funds, obviously we wouldn't suggest very high exposure, but any specific?
So in percentage terms, I think I would believe that as a thematic and as a sectoral fund, probably 15 to 20% of your portfolio one can look at in thematic funds, and there depending on the theme. So digital is a theme. Be it last week we had pharma as a theme. So some of those themes can be looked at in a higher way from an allocation perspective, slightly more. So
Perfect.
I think 20% of the portfolio, 15 to 20 is a reasonable number.
Great. Thank you, Kunal, for wonderful insights. In fact, I have got, I have an access to our investment team and their thought process and portfolio, etc. But trust me, I got enriched in terms of some new perspective, fresh insights in terms of how do you manage the portfolio. So many congratulations for a very consistent and wonderful performance over the last 1 year in particular. And thank you everyone for joining us on this episode of your Market Navigator. Next week on Wednesday at 4 o'clock, we will be back with you on this Your Market Navigator series. Next time we will have our senior portfolio manager, senior fund manager, Satyabrata Mohanty, who will be joining us. He manages ABSL Equity Advantage Fund and ABSL Equity Hybrid 95 Fund. And he also heads research for us. So he will be with us sharing his perspectives on portfolio and performance of both the funds and what lies ahead in future. So till that time, take care of yourselves and have good evening. Thank you very much, Kunal, once again.
Thank you. Nice Thank you, Bhavdeep, and thanks all the participants for listening through. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.